Jose Abreu still really crushed the ball. 93rd percentile average exit velocity, 97th percentile hard hit rate, 296 expected batting average, and he's got a park shift upgrade here going into Houston. Obviously, they got that short porch in left field, and it's a lineup upgrade. It's a huge lineup upgrade. Not to discount the White Sox. They have a very good lineup themselves, but they're not the Houston Astros. So, earlier in the offseason, I noticed you had Jose Abreu ranked 7th at first base. Do you plan on moving him up?
Probably not. Like I've come to terms with the idea that if I have any chance of getting Vinny Pasquantino, I have to make him number 6 at first base. And in points leagues specifically, I might have Anthony Rizzo ahead of Abreu because the low strike. Oh, then again, Jose Abreu had a low strikeout rate himself last year.
He doesn't walk very much for points leagues, though.
Yeah, but it was 16.2%. It was the best strikeout rate of his career. Just all around a weird season for Jose Abreu. His home runs were cut in half from 2021, 30 to 15. And I think that was, I mean, that's really all you can knock him for. He had over 300. Like I said, the low strikeout rate. He hit the ball very hard, as you point out. So I guess the early hesitance to draft him, and of course we're dealing with a tiny sample of drafts with a lot more offseason to happen. So it feels kind of funny to even talk about any mock draft data, but it's out there. And Jose Abreu was going, in my opinion, crazy late, considering his reputation, his track record, and the fact that I look at that stat line from last year with the 15 home runs, and it looks totally fluky to me. I mean, he's 35. I get it. So you can make the argument, okay, he's getting old. So that's why the home runs declined. Maybe that's an argument to make. The ball changed and we saw power production go down, particularly for certain players. But the reason why I don't think either of those arguments holds water is because Jose Abreu hit the ball as hard as ever. His average exit velocity, 93rd percentile. His hard hit rate, 97th percentile. So that doesn't, combined with the career low strikeout rate, that doesn't scream regression. And B, the kinds of players who saw their power sapped were the ones not hitting the ball that hard, the ones who had middling to low exit velocities. They were the guys who really suffered from the new ball. And Jose Abreu doesn't fit into that category either. His X slug was 486, 92nd percentile, despite his actual slug being only 446. So that would suggest it was kind of a fluky thing as well. And I think there's a good chance, even if he wasn't going to Houston, that Jose Abreu would have a big bounce back season. Because other than the home run total, I don't see in what way he declined. But now he is going to Houston, where StatCast says estimates he would have had 7 more home runs if he played all his games in Houston than he actually had last season. So it does appear to be a park upgrade just by that measure. And yeah, the loaded lineup. I mean, Jose Abreu, and I know, since the time of Moneyball, we've dismissed RBI as an individual achievement. It's just kind of something that happens. It's by happenstance that you get an RBI total. The people batting around you, where you're batting in the lineup, this contributes to a big RBI total. It's not something a hitter has direct control over. But Jose Abreu, over the years, has looked like an exception to that rule. Like he has this uncanny knack for getting RBI. And his 162 game pace over his entire career is 110 RBI. He had 117 RBI in a pretty bad White Sox lineup in 2021, and led the AL in RBI the 2 years before that. So like, this guy is great at driving in runs, and now he has this amazing Astros lineup that he's a part of. That's only going to help with that already existing strength of his. And you factor in the obvious batting average potential, the likelihood of him rebounding power wise. And I think this is, I don't think he needed this good news, but in a way I'm kind of like, okay, this move to the Astros is perceived as such an upgrade for Jose Abreu that like everybody else is probably going to catch up to where I already was with him. That's what I think is going to happen.
So the early ADPs got through 40 dress. Again, small sample, a lot more to happen here in the offseason. 127.6 for Jose Abreu as the 10th first baseman off the board. My guess is that he now pushes that top 100, maybe even gets inside the top 100, which is right where Vinny Pasquantino and Nate Lowe are currently going. So I think Jose Abreu is kind of going to wind up in a similar tier as those guys. And I think that makes sense based on everything that you just said. The top 6 in the Astros lineup projected to be Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Abreu, Kyle Tucker, Jeremy Pena. Are you kidding me? That's an insane lineup. So I think it's an absolutely great landing spot. Last point on him, and I've referenced this in years past. Jose Abreu being a Cuban-born player, this is something he's talked about in the past, where he's gotten off to slow starts. It's really cold in the months of March and April in Chicago.
That's
He's
a good
now
point.
going to be playing in Houston inside of a dome and in the AL West. So maybe he doesn't get off to that slow start. Maybe I'm reaching here, Scott, but it's something I've always thought about when it comes to Jose Abreu. Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I wouldn't have put much stock in that prior to this year. Well, really, it's the last 2 years, but especially this year, the way we saw offense suppressed to such an extreme in those colder months. Yeah, if you can avoid the cold, I think that's good for any hitter. And if it's something Jose Abreu specifically has talked about, then I guess even more so for him.